Disclaimer: I'm not a physician, registered dietitian, or licensed healthcare provider. The information in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Nutrient needs, supplement doses, and exercise programs vary by individual health status, age, medications, and goals. Always consult your qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, supplement routine, or exercise program, especially if you have a medical condition, take prescription drugs, are pregnant, or are under 18. Reliance on any information provided in this video is solely at your own risk. Synergizing mTOR, nutrient hacks to max muscle, turbocharge energy, and add years to your life. What if I told you there's a way to dramatically boost your energy, build muscle more effectively, and even extend your healthy lifespan just by optimizing a single cellular pathway? In part 1 of our mTOR Mastery series, we explored the groundbreaking science behind the mTOR pathway, your body's master regulator of growth, metabolism, and cellular renewal. We discovered how crucial balancing this powerful system is for maintaining vitality, preventing diseases, and promoting longevity. Today, in part 2, we're going deeper. You're about to learn exactly how specific nutrients, things you can start incorporating into your meals today, can unlock mTOR's full potential to help you achieve maximum muscle growth, vibrant energy, and exceptional health at any age. Whether you're battling age-related muscle loss, trying to maintain peak physical performance, or simply looking to age gracefully and energetically, mastering the nutrients that activate your mTOR pathway can transform your life. So if you're ready to leverage the power of nutrition for a stronger, healthier, and more vibrant future, grab a notebook, settle in, and let's dive into the science of mTOR optimization. A quick recap: why mTOR matters. Before we start loading your plate with the exact foods that flip this switch, let's anchor the big idea. mTOR, short for mechanistic target of rapamycin, is the project manager inside every single cell. When it senses an influx of amino acids after a protein-rich meal, a rise in insulin, or the mechanical stretch of a hard workout, it snaps into build mode. In seconds, ribosomes whip up fresh proteins, satellite cells fuse with muscle fibers, and mitochondria crank out extra energy. You feel that as stronger lifts, faster recovery, and the unmistakable buzz of a metabolism in overdrive. But mTOR also has a second setting: repair. When nutrients dip, insulin falls, or you slip into deep sleep, the switch flips. Construction stops, the lights dim, and an overnight crew gets to work, recycling damaged proteins and clearing cellular clutter in a process we call autophagy. Long-term vitality depends on that rhythm. Short, strategic bursts of growth followed by disciplined cleanup. Too much build and you accelerate aging. Too much repair and you wither away. Our mission today is precision control, turning the switch on with the right nutrients at the right moment, then stepping back so the cleanup crew can do its magic. And the most reliable signal for that first, deliberate surge is high-quality protein, especially the amino acid leucine. So let's unpack exactly how much protein you need, when to eat it, and which foods deliver the biggest leucine punch. Protein and leucine, the prime mTOR trigger. Let's start with the nutrient that shouts loudest at mTOR, protein. Think of dietary protein as a coded message, written in the amino acid leucine, that tells the cellular foreman it's time to build. When leucine levels in your bloodstream rise high enough, they dock onto a sensor called cestrin-2. That handshake is the green light signal. mTOR flips on, and muscle protein synthesis roars to life. The challenge is that, as we age, our muscles become hard of hearing. Scientists call it anabolic resistance. In practical terms, the plate of food that triggered growth in your 30s often barely keeps you in maintenance mode by the time you hit 60. So how do we break through the noise? We do two things: raise the volume and sharpen the signal. Raise the volume means eating more total protein than the old guidelines. If you're healthy and over 50, aim for at least 1.2 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight each day. If you're recovering from illness, under heavy training, or just want insurance, push that to 1.5 grams. Sharpen the signal means hitting a leucine threshold at every meal. Research shows that most older adults need somewhere between 25 and 30 grams of high-quality protein at a sitting to deliver roughly 3 grams of leucine, the sweet spot that wakes mTOR up. Skipping breakfast and then nibbling protein through the rest of the day rarely achieves that threshold. Far better to anchor each main meal around a clear, complete protein source. What does that look like on a plate? A scoop of whey isolate in your morning smoothie. 2 whole eggs plus a side of Greek yogurt at brunch. A fist-sized serving of salmon or chicken breast at dinner. If you're plant-based, you can still hit the mark. Just combine complementary proteins. A large bowl of lentils paired with quinoa or tofu stir-fried with edamame can climb into that leucine zone, especially if you top things off with a quality pea rice protein blend. Timing matters too. The single best moment to strike is within a 2-hour window on either side of resistance training. Lift first, eat soon after, and you amplify the anabolic echo. Your muscle cells are already primed by mechanical tension, and the leucine wave finishes the job. If you train early, a protein-rich breakfast seals the deal. If you lift after work, make dinner your densest protein hit. A quick word on quality. All proteins carry amino acids, but not in equal proportions. Whey tops the list for leucine density and lightning-fast absorption. Eggs come in a close second, followed by fish, poultry, and lean red meat. Among plants, soy lands highest, while other legumes trail behind unless you mix and match. Whatever you choose, focus less on perfection and more on consistency. Hit that leucine threshold meal after meal, day after day, and you'll feel the difference in strength, recovery, and metabolism within weeks. So, more total protein, clearly defined meals, and a deliberate leucine punch. That's step 1 in mastering mTOR. With the build signal secured, we need a partner nutrient that supports muscle and bone, keeps inflammation low, and helps prevent falls. That nutrient is vitamin D, and it's up next. Vitamin D, the muscle bone advantage. Protein may give mTOR its marching orders, but vitamin D supplies the sturdy scaffolding that makes those orders count. Most people still think of vitamin D solely as the bone vitamin. And yes, it is indispensable for moving calcium from your gut into your skeleton. But the story gets far more interesting once you zoom in on muscle. Every skeletal muscle cell carries vitamin D receptors. When the active hormone, calcitriol, docks there, it boosts the expression of genes involved in muscle contraction, accelerates recovery from exercise-induced damage, and sharpens the communication lines between nerves and muscle fibers. In practical terms, that means stronger quads, steadier balance, and a lower risk of the kind of trip and fall accident that can sideline an otherwise healthy person for months. The trouble is that, unlike protein, vitamin D production depends heavily on geography, season, skin tone, and how often you step outside without sunscreen. After age 60, your skin's ability to convert sunlight into vitamin D drops by more than half. Add in a modern lifestyle that keeps us indoors, and deficiency becomes the norm rather than the exception. Low vitamin D quietly undermines the very progress you're making in the gym. It blunts muscle protein synthesis, weakens bone, and allows chronic inflammation to smolder. So what's the fix? First, spend time in natural light whenever possible. 15 to 30 minutes of midday sun on face and forearms can push your body toward its daily target. But that assumes clear skies, summer latitude, and lighter skin. Most people still need a dietary backup plan. Oily fish, think salmon, mackerel, sardines, provide a reliable hit. Egg yolks and liver help, and many milks, plant milks, and cereals are fortified. Even with those foods, blood tests show that older adults who rely on diet alone rarely exceed the threshold researchers link to stronger muscles and fewer falls. That's why most geriatric and sports medicine guidelines now recommend a baseline supplement of 800 to 1,000 international units of vitamin D3 per day, taken with a source of fat for absorption, maybe alongside your breakfast almonds or your evening fish oil capsule. If blood work reveals a bigger gap, your clinician may bump that dose higher for a few months, then retest. The goal isn't to megadose forever. It's to keep serum levels in the sweet spot where muscle and bone talk to each other fluently and inflammation stays on a short leash. Remember that vitamin D doesn't work in isolation. It sets the stage for calcium to harden bone, and for magnesium to slip that calcium into place. In other words, treat vitamin D as the keystone of a larger arch. Pull it out and the structure wobbles. Anchor it firmly, and every other structural nutrient does its job better. With a steady flow of high-quality protein igniting mTOR and vitamin D fortifying the frame, we turn next to a nutrient pair that quenches inflammation while dialing muscle protein synthesis even higher, the long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. Omega-3 fatty acids, fuel, fire extinguisher, and anabolic amplifier. If protein is the spark that ignites mTOR, and vitamin D is the scaffolding that keeps muscles and bones solid, omega-3 fats are the dual-purpose fuel and fire extinguisher that let the whole system run hotter without burning itself out. The headline molecules here are EPA and DHA, long-chain omega-3s found mainly in cold water fish. Most people associate them with heart health, but their influence on muscle is just as compelling. First, EPA acts like a biochemical fire hose, damping the chronic inflammation that creeps up with age and heavy training alike. Inflammation isn't always bad. You need a short burst to repair micro tears after lifting. But when it lingers, it blocks mTOR signaling, slows recovery, and gnaws away at joint health. By nudging inflammatory pathways back toward balance, omega-3s keep the cellular environment primed for growth. Second, both EPA and DHA slip into muscle cell membranes, making them more fluid. That fluidity improves insulin sensitivity and accelerates the delivery of amino acids right where they're needed, effectively amplifying the muscle-building message you already sent with leucine. The research is hard to ignore. In studies where older adults supplemented with 2 to 4 grams of combined EPA and DHA daily, subjects gained more muscle volume and leg strength than control groups, even when protein and training were identical. Translation: omega-3s don't replace protein or exercise, they raise the ceiling on what those inputs can achieve. How do you hit that target dose? Start with food. A palm-sized serving of salmon delivers roughly 2 grams of EPA plus DHA. Mackerel, sardines, and herring are similar heavy hitters. If fish isn't on your menu at least 3 times a week, a concentrated fish oil capsule or an algae oil supplement for plant-based eaters fills the gap. Aim for a combined total of at least 2 grams per day and pair it with a meal to sidestep fish burp syndrome and improve absorption. A quick heads up, omega-3s can thin the blood slightly. If you're on prescription anticoagulants like warfarin, clear any high-dose fish oil plan with your physician. Most people tolerate 2 grams just fine, but due diligence keeps the gains drama-free. Think of EPA and DHA as the quiet teammates who make every star player better. They lower background inflammation, sharpen insulin signaling, and enhance mTOR's response to protein. With those advantages locked in, we pivot to a mineral trio that powers nerve conduction, muscle contraction, and skeletal integrity: magnesium, calcium, and zinc. The mineral triad: magnesium, calcium, and zinc, protein, vitamin D, and omega-3s set the growth machinery humming. But without the right minerals, the gears grind and the lights flicker. Three in particular, magnesium, calcium, and zinc, keep the electrical and structural systems of your body running smoothly. Let's start with magnesium, sometimes called the master mineral. More than 300 enzymes rely on it to do their jobs, including those that generate ATP, the very energy currency your muscles spend when they contract. Fall short on magnesium and you feel it fast. Twitchy muscles, nighttime cramps, and that low-grade fatigue that no amount of coffee fixes. Older adults often edge into deficiency because gut absorption declines, and common medications, proton pump inhibitors, certain diuretics, flush magnesium out. The fix is straightforward. Weave magnesium-rich foods into every day. Think pumpkin seeds, almonds, black beans, spinach, and dark chocolate. If you still cramp or struggle with sleep, add a chelated supplement, magnesium glycinate or citrate, around 300 milligrams in the evening. Your muscles will thank you, so will your nervous system. Next comes calcium, famous for bones but just as vital for muscle. Every contraction begins when a wave of calcium ions floods a muscle fiber, telling actin and myosin to slide and generate force. Skimp on calcium and the signal weakens. Overshoot and you risk arterial calcification. Balance is everything, and balance depends on vitamin D shuttling calcium from your gut into your bloodstream, and on magnesium sliding it into bone. Dairy remains the most bioavailable source, milk, yogurt, cheese, but you can rack up calcium from fortified plant milks, collagen-rich sardines, and leafy greens like bok choy or kale. Aim for about 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams per day, spread across meals. If you need a supplement, pair no more than 500 milligrams with food to avoid digestive backlash and keep blood levels steady. Rounding out the trio is zinc, a trace mineral that behaves like a molecular mechanic, repairing DNA, bolstering immunity, and, crucially for our topic, activating satellite cells so damaged muscle fibers can regenerate bigger and stronger. Zinc also modulates testosterone and growth hormone signaling, subtle levers that keep the anabolic environment dialed in. Deficiency shows up as slow wound healing, frequent colds, and a drop in exercise capacity. You can shore up zinc with shellfish. Oysters are the gold standard, plus beef, pumpkin seeds, and chickpeas. Because zinc competes with copper and iron for absorption, stay within the sweet spot, around 8 to 11 milligrams per day for most adults. No more than 40, unless a clinician directs otherwise. Here's where the synergy clicks. Magnesium relaxes muscle fibers after calcium triggers contraction. Zinc teams with magnesium to support hundreds of metabolic reactions. Vitamin D ensures that dietary calcium actually reaches bone. When all three minerals are present in adequate amounts, nerve impulses fire cleanly, muscles contract and release without cramping, and bones form the sturdy scaffold that lets mTOR-driven growth translate into real-world strength. With the mineral triad locked in, our next stop is the antioxidant shield, vitamins C and E plus selenium, that protects those freshly built proteins from oxidative wear and tear. The antioxidant shield, vitamins C and E and selenium. You've now primed the body to build. Protein fires mTOR, vitamin D and calcium reinforce bone, omega-3s tame inflammation, and magnesium and zinc keep the electrical circuits humming. But growth without protection is like constructing a skyscraper in a hailstorm. The structure goes up, but shards of debris can chip and crack it before you ever move in. That debris is oxidative stress, a byproduct of metabolism and intense training that, left unchecked, damages proteins, lipids, and DNA. Enter our antioxidant shield, vitamin C, vitamin E, and the trace mineral selenium. Start with vitamin C. Beyond its celebrity status as an immune booster, vitamin C is the cofactor that stitches collagen together. Collagen is the rebar of muscle, tendon, and bone. Without enough vitamin C, those tissues lose tensile strength and recovery slows to a crawl. Add in its water-soluble antioxidant power, and you get double protection, scavenging free radicals in the bloodstream while reinforcing connective tissue. Hitting the baseline is easy. 1 cup of strawberries, a bell pepper, or a kiwi each day all do the job. If you're training hard or recovering from injury, bump the intake with citrus, broccoli, or a supplemental gram split into 2 doses to avoid digestive backlash. Moving to vitamin E, a fat-soluble compound that embeds itself inside cell membranes. Think of it as a molecular bodyguard that intercepts lipid peroxides before they can punch holes in the membrane and leak cellular contents. Muscle fibers are especially rich in unsaturated fats, making them prime real estate for oxidative assault. A handful of almonds, 2 tablespoons of sunflower seeds, or a small avocado supplies 10 to 15 milligrams, right in the maintenance zone. Because vitamin E can thin the blood, keep supplementation moderate unless a clinician prescribes higher doses. Finally, selenium, the silent operator that powers glutathione peroxidase, one of the body's most potent endogenous antioxidants. Even a mild selenium shortfall dulls that enzyme, letting oxidative stress smolder. 1 or 2 Brazil nuts a day deliver the full adult requirement of 55 micrograms. If you're not into nuts, seafood like tuna or sardines and pasture-raised eggs backfill the gap. Together, these 3 nutrients form a tri-layer shield. Vitamin C patrols the aqueous spaces, vitamin E guards the lipid territory, and selenium fuels the internal firefighting squad. The payoff is simple but profound. Less post-workout muscle soreness, faster recovery, and longer-lasting cellular integrity, so the gains you build stick around. Now that you've fortified the structure, we'll tackle 2 often overlooked players, folate and vitamin B12, whose partnership maintains DNA integrity and keeps your nervous system firing at full speed. The DNA duo, vitamin B12 and folate. Muscle gains and boundless energy aren't just about repairing fibers and quenching free radicals. They depend on a steady flow of pristine genetic instructions. Every time a muscle cell divides to thicken a fiber or a satellite cell fuses to repair damage, it has to copy its DNA fault-free. 2 vitamins, folate, often called vitamin B9, and vitamin B12, are the co-authors of that genetic manuscript. Miss either one and the script fills with typos that slow growth, sap energy, and, over time, raise the odds of serious disease. Let's zoom in on vitamin B12 first. It's a water-soluble vitamin that functions like an ignition key for nerve conduction and red blood cell formation. Without B12, nerves misfire and oxygen delivery slumps, leaving you weak, foggy, and short on endurance no matter how polished your training plan. Age makes matters worse. Stomach acid wanes, certain diabetes drugs like metformin block absorption, and proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux act like a molecular off switch. If you eat animal protein daily, beef, eggs, salmon, you may squeak by, but blood tests show that up to 1/3 of older adults still run low. The simplest fix is a weekly sublingual B12 tablet, 1,000 micrograms, placed under the tongue where it bypasses the gut and heads straight into circulation. Folate works hand in hand with B12. Picture folate as the librarian who supplies fresh paper and ink for DNA replication. Skimp on folate and cell division stalls. Homocysteine, a metabolic scrap heap linked to vascular disease, piles up, and you start to feel older than your years. Dark leafy greens, spinach, kale, beet greens are folate heavyweights. Lentils, black beans, and asparagus carry plenty too, as do fortified whole grain cereals. A generous salad plus a cup of legumes can hit the 400 microgram daily target without supplements. But if your diet leans light on greens, a methylfolate capsule keeps the ledger balanced. Here's the clincher. B12 and folate share metabolic pathways, so a deficit in one can mask or worsen a deficit in the other. That's why forward-thinking clinicians test them together and, when they supplement, often pair them. The payoff for keeping both topped off is tangible. Steadier moods, sharper focus, and faster muscle repair because the instructions arriving at each cell are crisp and error-free. With your genetic script safeguarded, our final section stitches everything together into a simple daily routine. Protein pulses, supplement timing, hydration, and movement, so you can put this entire nutrient arsenal to work the very next time you open the fridge. Daily Blueprint, turning nutrients into a lifestyle. Let's stitch all the pieces into one seamless day. Picture the alarm going off and you greet it with a tall glass of water kissed with a pinch of sea salt. Electrolytes on board, hydration switch flipped. You head out for a walk in the early light, 15 unfiltered minutes letting your skin manufacture the first hit of vitamin D while your joints wake up. Breakfast isn't an afterthought, it's mission one. A whey-powered smoothie blended with frozen berries, spinach, and a spoon of almond butter lands 30 grams of protein and 3 grams of leucine across your gut lining. The mTOR foreman gets the morning memo. Construction can begin. Alongside that shake, a fish oil capsule supplies 2 grams of EPA plus DHA, damping background inflammation before it sparks. Mid-morning, you sip black coffee and tackle your work. Nerves firing cleanly because B12 and folate levels are topped up. If you train at lunch, you hit the gym for resistance work. Squats, presses, rows, 30 focused minutes. Post-lift, lunch arrives, grilled salmon, quinoa, and a kale citrus salad. Protein and leucine reach threshold again. Vitamin C from the citrus marries iron in the greens. Magnesium and zinc from the quinoa slip into circulation. Calcium from a serving of Greek yogurt follows close behind. You chase it with another glass of water to keep nutrient flow steady. Afternoon rolls on without the usual slump because omega-3s, stable blood sugar, and adequate hydration keep cortisol in check. If you feel tightness creeping into calves or hands, you massage in a 1/4 teaspoon of magnesium lotion, a topical top-up that calms nerves in minutes. Dinner closes the protein loop, a palm-sized chicken breast, or a tofu edamame stir-fry, roasted sweet potatoes, and a sprinkle of sesame seeds. You pop your evening vitamin D3 if sunlight was scarce, and perhaps a couple of Brazil nuts for selenium. As night deepens, you power down screens, letting melatonin rise. mTOR's switch slides naturally toward repair. Autophagy gears up, cleaning the workshop while you dream. Stack days like that, and each morning meets a version of you that is incrementally stronger, clearer, and more resistant to the wear of time. It isn't magic and it isn't guesswork. It's the disciplined choreography of nutrients, movement, light, and rest. Precision cues that tell your cellular foreman exactly when to build and exactly when to sweep the floors. That is mTOR mastery in action. If today's plan sparked an idea you can adopt immediately, drop it in the comments. I read everyone. If you found this series valuable, hit subscribe so you never miss the next layer of science-backed strategies for living stronger, longer, and brighter. Drink your water, lift with intent, and feed your cells on purpose. I'll see you in the next video.